Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Cherry Berry Berry Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Hope you're well. Had a nice Thanksgiving, and welcome to Kabbalat Shabbat. We are on page 2. L'chu neranana l'Adonai na'aria l'tzur yishenu. Nikadma fanav b'todah bizmirot na'aria lo. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose and meaning. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may we live in such a way that this Shabbat day fulfills its promise to us. Come, let us sing joyfully to God. Page 3, inverting the first and second lines. Shiru l'Adonai ho haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a good song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. The earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai ho haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Page 4. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth be glad. Let the seas roar and all within it thunder. Adonai malach tagel haaretz yismechu iyim rabim. Anan va'arafel sevivav tzedek umishpat michon kis'o. Or zeruah l'tzadik ul yishrei lev simcha. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright in heart. Exalt Adonai, you righteous, and give thanks to God's holy name. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu l'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Page 6. We welcome the Sabbath bride. Ya la 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 chadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala lechadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala la 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 shamur v'zachor b'dibur chad. Ishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemu tiferet v'liti la 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 chadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala l'chadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala la 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 likrat Shabbat l'chu v'nelcha ki himakor habaracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'asa b'mak Shavati la 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 Chadodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat Chadodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat la 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 la. We rise physically or spiritually to greet our bride. Page 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala nam simcha v'tochala toch emunei am segula boi chala la 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 chadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala lechadodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabala la 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 la. On page 10, we continue with the Psalm for Shabbat. It's good to give thanks, Adonai, and sing your praises, proclaiming your love every morning and your faithfulness each night. Line 2, second line, Hebrew or transliteration, page 10. Tov leho dot l'Adonai u'lisameh l'shimcha elyon להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה יאללה לה לה יאללה לה לה yalla la la 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 yalla la la. The bottom of page or the middle of page 11. Tzadik katama yifrach yifrach, tzadik katama yifrach, tzadik katama yifrach yifrach, tzadik katama yifrach. Ke'eres belvanon yiske, ke'eres belvanon yiske, ke'eres belvanon yiske, yiske. Ke'eres belvanon yiske, ke'eres belvanon yiske, ke'eres belvanon yiske, yiske. Page 12. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall thrive like the cedars of Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They shall flourish in the courts of our God. In their old age they shall still produce fruit. They are still full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, our rock, in whom there is no wrong. The formal call to worship on page 13. Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Page 14. Uma avir yom umevi laila umavdil bein yom uvein laila Adonai tzvaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. We'll do on page 16 the Ahavat Olam in English. You offered your people Israel everlasting love by teaching us Torah and offering us the mitzvot. And therefore, Adonai, we will rejoice in your love. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teachings. At each moment, we come face to face with truth. In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. At each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mizuzot beitecha uvish arecha. In the middle of 19. And you shall make for yourself seat on the corners of your garments throughout the ages. The seat are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Out of Egypt, across the Sea of Reeds, where we sang God's praises, page 20. Mi chamocha b'limadonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele, nora tehilot, o seifele, mahutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze'eli anu ve'amaru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, mi chamocha b'limadonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele, nora tehilot, o seifele, v'ne'emar ki vada Adonai et Yaakov ugo'alo mi'ad hasak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael, mi chamocha b'limadonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seifele, nora tehilot, o seifele. Hashkivenu, help us, God, to lie down in peace and raise us up again renewed. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu l'shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu l'shalom. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha, ufros Paros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu L'Shalom Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu L'Shalom. Page 25. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Hatzi Kaddish, page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba ba'alma dira chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael bagala Ubizman Kariv V'maru Amen Yeheshmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ulonei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yit'aleh V'yithalal Shemeda Kudusha Barichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran Belma V'maru Amen. Our conversation with God, the Amidah, beginning on page 27. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel V'Ivnei V'Nehem L'Ma'an Shemo B'Ahava 29 Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Atagi Burla Lamanonai Milchaye Metim Atarav Leposhia Mashiv HaRuach Umarid HaGashem Milchakel Chaim Bechesed Milchaye Metim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato V'Shenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Meimih Umechayeh Umatzmi Ach Yeshua V'ne'emanata L'hachayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hametim Baruch atah Adonai Hakeho HaKadosh. Page 32. ויאכלו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויאכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי וקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Page 34. O God, whose word was a shield to our ancestors, speak to us again in our own day, words which will shield us too. When we are burdened with sorrow, shield us from despair with your words of comfort. When we are riddled by doubt, shield us from cynicism with your words of faith. When we are disappointed or despondent, shield us from depression with words of hope. When we are bitter or angry, shield us from hatred with your words of love. When we are overwhelmed by life's circumstances, shield us from defeat with your words of promise. And when we are troubled by turbulence in our lives, shield us from chaos and confusion with your reassuring words of Sabbath peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Grant lasting peace to your people Israel and to all who dwell on earth. Baruch atah Adonai hamavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment for silent prayer, meditation, words of your heart. Say shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. So in this week's Torah portion, Vayeshev, we have the famous dreams of when Joseph's thrown into the pit and sold to Potiphar, and then Potiphar winds up putting him in the jail, and the baker and the wine steward dream a dream, and Joseph interprets it. Our story, in honor of those special dreams, is called The Dream and the Treasure. And of course, the dreams that he interprets come true. So this is called The Dream and the Treasure, and it's in Jewish stories, one generation tells another. A long time ago, in the Polish city of Krakow, there lived a man named Avram, son of Beryl. Avram had a wife and many children. In their small cottage, there were only 2 rooms, a kitchen and a bedroom. The bedroom was divided into 2 parts by a sheet in place of a wall. On one side of the improvised wall was the bedroom for Avram and his wife, and on the other side the children slept. The kitchen had an earthen floor that was covered daily with fresh straw. Everyone loved to stay in the kitchen because of the black pot-bellied stove that warmed them through the long, cold, snowy winters. Avram was a hard-working man, but no matter how much he worked, he earned barely enough for the family's daily needs: food, candles for Shabbat, material for clothing, lessons for the children. When a dress became too short for one of the daughters, a pretty embroidered ribbon would be added to the length. And when a pair of pants became too small for one of the boys, patches were sewn on the worn spots, and they would be given to a younger son. Avram tried his best. He tried hard not to think of all the money he owed to shopkeepers and to teachers. So while he worked, he would often hum to himself or make up stories about faraway places and even about his own life. Of all his daydreams, Avram was particularly fond of one. He would sit and think about having the finest meals for Shabbat and thus be able to invite many guests to share the Sabbath with him. He would say to himself, "Come, my friends, we have plenty of room and plenty of food for everyone." Avram would then picture how it would be to return from the synagogue with his guests and find the house brightly lit and the table beautifully prepared for Shabbat, with wine and 2 large challahs and all kinds of delicious food. He would think to himself that being able to have guests and also an extra piece of fish would give him the greatest of pleasures. Just as these thoughts came to Avram during the day, dreams came to him at night. One night he had an unusual dream. He saw himself standing under a bridge. All around him were magnificent buildings, and one building looked like a palace. Suddenly a voice spoke to him and said, "Avram, this is the great city of Prague. There is the bridge leading to the king's palace. Dig a hole right where you are standing under the bridge, and you will find a treasure." Avram suddenly woke up and saw that it was morning. Prague? How could he go to Prague? He didn't even have enough money for family needs. He muttered to himself as he proceeded to get washed and say his morning prayers. After a few minutes, he realized that it had only been a dream and nothing more. Dreams are nice, he thought, but he had to get to the synagogue and then to work. All day long, the words of the voice in his dream remained in his mind, and on the next night, Avram had the same dream, and again he heard the voice. This time it teased him. "Avram, what are you waiting for? You enjoy your poverty?" The following morning, Avram told his wife about the dream. She listened and smiled in an understanding way. "Oh, you're such a dreamer. You talk and think of faraway places all day, so why shouldn't you dream about them at night? It's getting late. Better prepare for shul or you'll be late for morning prayers." That night, the dream came to Avram for a third time. This time, the voice in the dream was more insistent. "Avram, the treasure is there waiting for you. What can you lose by seeing for yourself? Go, take it. It will solve your problems." And after the third time, Avram decided that he would go to Prague and see if the dream could come true. Since he had no money to spend on traveling by coach, he would have to go on foot. His wife put some bread and cheese in a sack and filled a bottle of water for his journey. At dawn, just as the sun was rising, and immediately after saying morning prayers, Avram began to walk the long miles to Prague. And during his journey, whenever he was tired, hungry, or discouraged, he would sing psalms praising God. He knew in his heart that God would protect him. He had deep faith, no matter how hard his life was. And sometimes the tunes had no words for the songs. He just sang, "Bim bum, bim bum, bim 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 bum." But they were joyous tunes that made him feel light and happy and close to God. Often he danced his little steps, even though his feet seemed so tired. Finally, weeks later, in the middle of one afternoon, Avram arrived in Prague, and to his amazement, he saw everything just as he had seen it in his dream. In fact, he had the feeling that he had been there before. There in front of him was the palace of the king, and here was the bridge leading to the palace. It was not a big bridge. Avram was somewhat disappointed at seeing that it was really so small. But he knew the exact spot where he had stood in the dream, and so he went and he stood there. Then he noticed that there were guards everywhere, and he knew that he had to be careful or they would be suspicious of him. As he stood there thinking what to do next, the captain of the guard approached and demanded in a commanding voice, "Are you waiting for someone? Looking for something?" Avram was bewildered. Should he tell the guard a lie? No, he would not do that. Hesitantly and feeling a little foolish, he told the guard about his dream and why he had come all the way to Prague. Instead of calling him a liar, the guard started to laugh and replied, "If I had such faith in dreams, I would not be here right now. I too had a dream in which a voice spoke to me. It told me to go to the house of a Jew named Avram, son of Beryl, in Krakow. If I looked under the stove in his kitchen, I would find a treasure," the voice told me. "I've heard that half the Jews in Krakow are named Avram and the other half named Beryl, and they all have stoves. So how would I ever find the right one? Do I look like a fool who would spend his time searching under stoves? No, I'm afraid, my foolish man, that you've believed your dream for nothing. Instead of finding a treasure here, you've only worn out a pair of shoes." Avram listened in amazement as the captain spoke, describing Avram's own house. Is it possible that there was a treasure in his own home, hidden where he could not see it? With an eager heart, Avram hurried back to Krakow. When he finally arrived home, he dug under his stove right there in the kitchen, and yes, there he discovered the promised treasure. Avram was so happy that he said first a prayer of thanksgiving to God. With some of the treasure, he built a house of prayer, which he called Rab Avram's Shul. Of course, he kept some of the treasure for his family, and he was able to pay back all of his debts. But whenever anyone needed help, Avram remembered his own poverty and offered to help them from his treasure with an open heart. We continue on page 37 with prayers for healing. Hold in your hearts all those whose names, the names of those that you would like to keep for healing. We especially think of those who were run down the other day, earlier this week at the parade, the young kids. Shabbat avotenu makor habracha imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu makor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And we send those prayers out through the country, around the world, and up into the heavens. On page 39, Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekru l'yotzeh b'reshit, shelo asanu k'galyei haratzot, lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamon Va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Page 43. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Kakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar, v'chaya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushema echad. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we've drawn into our hearts with our own, Zikronam Livracha. May their memories be a blessing. We're remembering here at Shalom Park in the coming week Esther Indich, Louise Zellinger, Oranza McKee, Esther Zeldin, Patricia Humphrey, Celia Roller, Lois Miller, Joe Rosen, Rose Loop, Fanny Sigmund, Cecilia Meyer, Myrtle Noggle, Cecilia Nelson, Irene Soren, Bernice Rebka, Charlotte Schiff, Bernice Martin, Beatrice de Casablanco, Beatrice Cofield, Lois Goldsmith, Evelyn Drews, Irma Wagner, Eddie Holtzman, June Adler, Yaakov Trusman, and Jane Jones. Kaddish is found on page 45. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divra kirte v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon uvchaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'meru amen. Yehe shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shmeid kudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Val koyosh tevel v'imeru. Amen. May the one who makes peace in the heaven grant comfort to all who mourn. And together we say, Amen. Kiddush and Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'hava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikara l'maaseh hareshit, ki hu yom tehillah l'mikrei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'harta v'tanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shaba kodshecha v'ahava uvaratzon hinchaltanu Baruch Ata Adonai v'kadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen l'chaim. Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Final song. We welcome in our angels. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'll see you next Friday for a special Kabbalat Shabbat for Hanukkah. And this week, we'll be having videos for each night, lighting candles each night. So come and join in the Hanukkah fun. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving Thursday. And Shabbat Shalom. And I will see you next week. Bye.